Hi guys. So, as some of you might know, Warframe is currently experiencing like a big boon in viewership on websites like Twitch. This is because the company themselves have started giving players drops for just simply watching people play the game. It's actually really smart because they've got a lot more viewers now than they did a couple of months ago. So what I wanted to do with that in mind, with a lot more people getting with a lot more attention going towards the game, that brings about the possibility for a lot more new players. So I wanted to make a video basically just answering the first question that anyone joining the game is going to have or be faced with, and that is, which Warframe should I pick as my starter frame? So the three frames you get at the start, a choice of at the start of the game, are Vault, Excalibur and Mag. So let's start with Vault. Vault, like his name suggests, uses the powers of electricity to change the battlefield. Maybe it changes the wrong word, but he uses electricity. His first ability, he fires like a bolt of lightning, and the first enemy it hits will be stunned, and it will then deal damage around that stunned enemy to any other enemies in the area. It's pretty good, but the damage, it's nothing special. It's more there for the stun. His second ability, and probably his signature ability, is speed. He, upon activation, him and allies around him will literally turn into the Flash. If you've ever seen the program, it even looks like it, and you get such a big movement speed increase. And while it's cool and it is useful, I personally do not like this ability. For me, it's probably my biggest gripe in the game. If I'm in a game and I don't play as Bolt often, but if I'm in a game with a Bolt in, I'm just doing my thing, and a Volt presses his 2, I then have to move at his pace, and it's irritating. It changes the way you have to aim. You end up running into walls, things like that, if you don't play Volt often. And to me, it's just annoying. And not only that, it kind of, especially if you're taking Volt as your first frame, because in Warframe, parkour and movement is such a core aspect of the game, and it's important. It's something you should learn. If you're relying on Volts 2 for movement and travel, it kind of goes against what you should be learning at that stage. You should be learning how to position yourself better and use the parkour system. And so for me, it's just, it promotes a bad playstyle, or it doesn't allow you to learn the things that you should. So Volt's third ability, he creates a deployable shield made out of energy in front of him. It has duration of 16 seconds at max rank, I think, without being modded. And it's pretty good. It stops projectiles coming through. But in Warframe, unless you're doing really high level content, and by that I mean endurance runs, you shouldn't really need to or should stay in one place at a time. Camping, it's not it's not viable, because it is, but you really shouldn't be doing it, especially early in the game. Once you get later on in the game, it's the best thing to do, but at this stage, I don't like it. You can pick the shield up and use it as a right shield, but the energy drain is really high on it without being modded, and so I personally don't like this game. So his fourth ability is he radiates, or has a big discharge of energy surrounding him, a big AoE, and it paralyzes enemies within range and deals decent damage. So Volt is a very good frame. I advise getting Volt. In fact, I advise getting all the frames, but Volt is a very good frame. And while I personally don't like him for the reasons I've said, he should be picked up. There are many uses within this game. And so he's a squishy frame. most of, well, I suppose all three of the starter frames are fairly squishy, and Volt's like there in the middle, but he does have higher shields to make up for the fact that he has really low armor. So then let's move on to Excalibur, and like as the name suggests, he isn't really like a paladin. Well, I suppose his abilities could kind of reflect that, but no, it just doesn't fit how he actually plays. So Excalibur's one is a ability dash, and so Excalibur dashes into an area and will do a melee strike to an opponent in the area, and it does good damage. It doesn't, like, you don't have to target an enemy with it, you can use it just for movement, but you do want to be trying to get the damage off. His second ability is a AoE blind surrounding him. It's very good. It makes him and his allies untargetable by anyone that's been blinded until the duration wears off. So his third ability is, it's not really used much, but it is decent damage when you're starting out. What he does is he raises his sword and like 12 javelins emit from his sword and strike down on enemies within an area. Like it's good damage, but it will, as you like get later in the game, that damage kind of isn't good damage. That makes sense. Like you would be better off using your energy on other abilities. And so his last ability, his signature move, and like one that a lot of new players find really cool, is Volt will unsheath like a sword made of energy. And what this does is, like, every time he takes a slash with it, it will release like a bolt of energy in like the shape of a slash. And this can like go through obstacles, go through walls, things like that. And when it hits enemies, it does damage, and it will go through enemies, so it can hit multiple enemies. And this, like, so it will last until his energy is depleted or turned off, and it does do very high damage, but it doesn't scale very well. So then finally, let's move on to Mag. Mag is, like, out of the three, our only real caster frame, and she does significantly rely on her abilities more than the other two frames, I would say. And so her first ability is pull. She will pull enemies towards herself. It deals magnetic damage, and like enemies are like ragdolled, so it's kind of decent CC as well. Mag's second ability is she like places like a magnetic bubble on the field, and enemies inside it end up getting rooted, and like they start taking damage over time from, I think it's damage over time, or it might be damage all in one go, but it damages them anyway. And what she can do is her and allies can shoot into these bubbles to increase the damage that the enemies are taking. And if an enemy dies inside it, the bubble will like explode, dealing damage to enemies within range. It's probably her best ability now, I would say, personally. And it scales well because it will go off the weapon damage as well as just like the ability damage. So Mag's third ability, and probably like underrated by a lot of people, is she will strip armor and shields from enemies within range, which leaves them a lot more susceptible to damage. And people don't really tend to use it because like, your weapons are generally enough damage as long as you're modding them correctly to kill what's in front of you. But like as you get to the higher levels, it is really useful and should be used. And finally, Mag's fourth ability, she like suspends all enemies around her in the air and then like kind of crushes them from the inside. It does decent damage, but like it's more of a CC ability. So Mag, she's the squishiest Warframe that we've looked at. She is also like the most energy intensive, and for me that's a bad thing, because she really relies on the use of her abilities, and they kind of just cost too much. Like, she's still good and you would have to mod her, but I personally don't think because of that she is new player friendly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my personal opinion about which frame is the best frame to start with. And it is just opinion. Like, all three of these frames are all very good frames. They can all do all content in the game. Some of them do it better than others, but they can all do like all content. But as it's just a starter frame, and you can unlock all the other frames in the game, like so this, to me, the one you should pick should be down to like playstyle, or down to which frame is going to help you learn and give you like the skill set you need at the beginning, or which frame is going to allow you to like make mistakes and not be punished as much. And so for me, like, the answer is Excalibur. Out of the three, he's like the most naturally tankier. He's a very like well balanced frame. He has movement in his 1, it does good damage. His blind is good CC, it allows him to get out of like sticky situations. His 4 is very good damage, even though it doesn't scale the best, it is really good damage. And even though like his third ability, personally, like, I don't use, like, it's still extra damage, especially like early on when you're learning the game, it will be enough damage. And so for me, like, Excalibur, it just allows you to make those mistakes that all new players are going to make and not be punished too hard. Like, if you can make a mistake and learn from it, but if you make a mistake and die and fail the mission, like, that's just going to irritate you, and you're not learning as well when you're in a bad environment. Volt, to me, he produces like, and to me it's an issue with his 2. Like, it doesn't allow you to learn a core aspect of the game while you're using Volt. Like, you don't always have to be running with his 2, but a lot of new players will tend to like use it all the time to like speed the missions up, instead of learning how to like parkour and travel the map efficiently. And then with Mag, it's like, she's like, I would say out of the 3, she's the hardest frame. I mean, like, she is so squishy early, like, she cannot take a hit. And like, also like, so playing the caster is fine, but like with Excalibur, when you're using your movement into melee range and stuff, like, you're going to be learning your positioning and stuff like that a lot more, as opposed with Mag, you're in the back lines doing everything from a distance. And so to me, Excalibur is just the choice I would pick. But like I said, all of these frames can do pretty much all content in the game. It should be down to like which of these has sounded most appealing to you. But if you are the kind of person that wants to like initially learn the game, isn't going to be punished as much, I personally would take Excalibur. Anyway guys, that's going to be it from me. This is actually my first video, so if you're still here watching, like, thank you, I appreciate it. If you found this helpful, or you want like any other questions answered that you feel relevant, like, just drop them in the comments and I will do my best to like give you answers either in the comments, or if it's something like difficult to answer, I'll try and make a video on it. But yeah, like I said, this is my first video. I'm not expecting it to be the best or very good or anything, so if you can, just give some like constructive criticism, I'd really appreciate that. Thanks guys.